ask yourself this. When she talks about you to her friends, does she describe a man or just another phase? Harsh? Maybe. But if she doesn't feel the void when you're gone, it's because your presence never had emotional weight to begin with. That's not her fault. That's your pattern. But there's a way to fix that. I'm going to walk you through 10 principles that make your absence impossible to ignore. Not with drama, not with games, just with depth, control, and a version of you she never got to fully understand. The kind that keeps her wondering, long after the door has closed. Some people say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Others say, it just gives people time to forget you. So which is it? Hit subscribe if you've ever wondered which one is true. And drop a comment. Do women miss who they loved or who they lost? Your answer might be the wake-up call another man needs. Now let's break down the 10 principles that trigger deep emotional withdrawal and how to make sure you're the man they never stop thinking about. Number 1, stop explaining, start withdrawing. Let me ask you something blunt. When she pulled away, did you start typing a long message to explain how you feel? Did you pour your heart out, trying to prove your value one last time? If you did, don't beat yourself up. That instinct comes from fear. Fear of losing someone you thought you mattered to. But here's the harsh truth. Explaining your worth never works when someone already made up their mind to devalue it. In fact, the more you try to explain yourself, the more invisible you become. Why? Because logic doesn't trigger emotional regret. Silence does. See, most men think closure is about clarity. But in relationships, closure isn't given. It's created by absence. When you withdraw without explanation, you're not just leaving the room, you're forcing her to sit in it, alone, with her own questions echoing in her head. You want her to think about you at 2 a.m.? Then don't give her a script to follow. Give her a void to fill. Because here's the paradox. When you explain why you're pulling away, you give her power. You're still performing for her validation. But when you go quiet, no goodbye, no drama, no emotional monologue, you flip the script. Now she's the one stuck wondering, wait, what just happened? And that's the beginning of her missing you. So here's the strategy. Pull away, don't announce it, don't defend it, just leave. Like a man who finally realized his silence says more than any apology ever could. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your value is the moment she starts questioning hers. And that silence? That's the loudest thing she'll hear. Number 2, become unavailable emotionally. Let me be clear. I'm not telling you to block her. I'm not telling you to delete her off every platform or act like some ghost with revenge in your heart. I'm telling you to disappear emotionally. Because the real power isn't in cutting her off. It's in being there, but no longer reachable. Most guys stay emotionally available long after the breakup, liking her stories, heart-reacting her selfies, dropping a happy birthday, just to remind her they still care. Let me tell you something. She doesn't miss attention she can predict. She misses the energy she used to earn. When you were emotionally present, truly present, your empathy, your curiosity, your depth, it had value. But now, if you keep offering that same emotional presence while she's already detached, you're basically giving diamonds to someone who's already shopping elsewhere. Here's the twist. When you go emotionally silent, she has to guess. And that guessing game? That's where memory gets dangerous. She doesn't remember what you said. She starts to feel what she used to feel. So don't bite the bait. When she posts something that seems like a signal, don't engage. That cryptic quote, not your problem. That flirty selfie, not your responsibility. Let her sit in her own noise. You're no longer the comfort she can casually access. Mirror her distance, but do it with poise, not pettiness. Be a presence that once offered emotional depth, and now, without warning, that depth is gone. Because the truth is, being unavailable doesn't mean you're cold. It means you've stopped offering warmth where it's no longer valued. Let her wonder where your heart went. Because once you become emotionally unavailable, you become unforgettable. Number 3, speak with impact, then go silent. You don't need to say a lot to be remembered. You just need to say the right thing, once, and then vanish. Most men crumble at the moment of exit. They either over-explain, lash out, or leave a novel's worth of final thoughts in her inbox. But that only creates noise, not presence. Let me tell you what hits harder. One sentence that lingers. One line that circles in her mind long after you're gone. Not dramatic, not poetic, just precise. Imagine saying something like, "You stopped seeing me long before I stopped showing up." And then, nothing. No follow-up, no reaction, just silence. What that does psychologically is powerful. It doesn't just close a chapter. It leaves a quote she'll reread in her own head for weeks. Here's the strategy. Use her own language against her, not to manipulate, but to mirror. If she once said, "You always care too much," your final message could be, "I finally stopped caring the way you never understood." It's not spite, it's reflection. You're not trying to make her feel bad. You're making her see what she's been blind to. And when she does, that silence you leave behind will sound a lot like guilt, like regret, like a question with no answer. Because the truth is, the most haunting words are the ones that didn't try to convince. They just revealed. So drop one line. No defense, no context, no open door, and then disappear. Let her realize that while she was waiting for fireworks, all it took was one match to light up the silence. You didn't ghost her. You left her with a sentence she can't forget. Number 4, make presence a privilege. Let me tell you something most men never realize until it's too late. The more accessible you are, the more invisible you become. You were always available, always one text away, always ready to show up when she needed you, even when she didn't earn it. You weren't a man, you were a convenience. But presence, true presence, should feel like a privilege, not a default setting. The reason she doesn't feel your absence now is because she never truly experienced your value when you were around. She assumed you'd always be there, always ready, always waiting. That's not love, that's background noise. So here's the shift. Next time you're in her space, whether in person or online, you make that moment count. You show up grounded, focused, unpredictable in the best way, not needy, not chasing, just fully in control of your time, your energy, your attention. And then you leave. Not because you're playing games, but because you have better things to do than orbit someone who isn't grateful. This isn't about punishment. It's about reframing. You're reprogramming her brain to associate your presence with value and your absence with loss. That way, when you do show up again, weeks or months later, it's no longer a habit. It's a highlight. Let her feel the difference between you being near and you being gone. Because women don't miss the ones who were always there. They miss the ones who showed up like an event, then vanished like a mystery. You want to be missed. Stop showing up like a notification. Start showing up like a once-in-a-while storm. Unforgettable, rare, and always leaving something stirred up in her world. Number 5, live a mission. She can't join you, want her to miss you? Here's the cold truth. She can't miss what never feels truly lost. And most men, they make the mistake of hanging their entire identity on shared memories, on what we used to do together, on the things she loved about me. But when you stay trapped in the past, she never feels the shock of losing you in the present. You want to become unforgettable? Live a mission she can't access. Think about this. What was the one thing she used to admire in you? The passion, the hustle, the way you lit up when talking about that side project, that gym routine, that dream? Now amplify that and shut the door behind you. I'm not saying post highlight reels on social media. That's ego-driven. That's cheap. What I'm saying is, build a world she can no longer enter, not because she's blocked, but because she's no longer qualified. Start showing up in conversations that don't include her name. Let your progress speak louder than your absence. When you stop inviting her into your narrative, she'll realize the plot is moving on without her. And here's the twist. When she tries to peek back in, because she will, she won't see bitterness. She'll see evolution. A man on a mission. A purpose she's no longer part of. That contrast? It stings. Because now you're not just a what if, you're a what she can't touch anymore. This isn't about pretending. It's about reclaiming emotional space. You're not living to prove anything to her. You're just finally living like she's no longer your axis. Because the moment your life becomes richer without her, she starts wondering what chapter you're writing that no longer includes her name. And trust me, that curiosity hits harder than any confession. Number 6, upgrade. Silently. Let me say this loud and clear. The best revenge is never loud. It's not a flex on Instagram. It's not a selfie in front of a rented car. It's not a gym pic captioned with leveling up. The most powerful upgrade? She doesn't even know it happened until one day she doesn't recognize you anymore. You see, most men scream their progress because they're still secretly seeking validation. They want her to notice. They want her to regret. But the truth is, if you're upgrading just to get her attention, you're not upgrading. You're still orbiting. So here's the move. Upgrade in silence. Get sharper, colder, calmer. Start lifting not just weights, but standards. Start reading not just quotes, but strategy. Start moving like a man whose silence has weight. Don't post about the gym. Just show up leaner. Don't talk about your healing. Just stop reacting. When she stumbles on you again, and she will, let her be the one who stares and thinks, what the hell happened to him? Not because you look different, but because your energy is unreadable. That's when the comparison starts. She won't compare you to other men. She'll compare you to the old you. And here's the twist. She won't feel pride. She'll feel distance. Because the man who used to chase her doesn't even walk in her direction anymore. And the silence? That's what breaks her. Because it's not empty. It's full of evolution she no longer has access to. Upgrade, but don't advertise it. Let your results leak in whispers, not shouts. Because when you level up without explanation, without needing applause, you stop being a memory. You become a standard. And that is how you haunt her. Number 7, consistency that disturbs. Here's a truth most guys can't stomach. Your unpredictability made you forgettable. One day, you're silent. Next day, you're liking her posts. Then you disappear again, only to pop up with a, hope you're doing okay, at midnight. Let me tell you what that does to her mind. Nothing. No curiosity. No regret. Just confirmation that you're still emotionally accessible, still predictable. But when you become cold and stay cold, that's when the ground shifts. Women don't spiral over the guy who acts confused. They spiral over the man who is unshakably consistent. And it's not the consistency of love. It's the consistency of absence. You don't flinch. You don't check in. You don't suddenly get soft around her birthday or some nostalgic song she posts on her story. You are done, and you stay done. That kind of emotional consistency, it breaks the rhythm she was counting on. And without that rhythm, she has no anchor. She has to create new patterns, new stories, new illusions to explain your silence. You've officially become the blank page she can't rewrite. And here's the kicker. This isn't about being bitter. It's about being solid. You're not reacting. You're not teasing. You're not dropping half signals hoping she notices. You're just gone. Not loudly, but completely. That's what creates disturbance. Because every woman has a radar for emotional tension. And when your signal flatlines, she has to ask, is he really over me? Has he really changed? The absence of your noise becomes louder than any message you could send. So don't be hot one week and cold the next. Be ice. Be untouchable. Be consistent in your disappearance, because the man who doesn't come back is the one she never stops looking for. Number 8. Emotional scarcity. If your attention was a currency, most of you are giving it away like it's on clearance. Double texts, long replies, emoji reactions, emotional availability on demand, even after the connection has cracked. Let me ask you this. Why would she value something that costs her nothing? This is where most men fall. They think being emotionally open is the noble route. That if they just show her they still care, she'll realize what she's missing. She won't. Because when your emotional energy is always available, it stops being special. It stops being felt. You want her to feel your absence? Make your emotions scarce. That doesn't mean becoming robotic. It means becoming expensive. You choose when to respond. You control how much of yourself you give. You stop replying with depth to someone who doesn't match it. Let her feel the contrast. The man who once gave warmth without hesitation now holds it like a luxury item. You're not mean. You're measured. Even if you reconnect, even if the door reopens slightly, you don't flood it with affection. You let her earn every bit of emotional intimacy. Because women don't miss the man who cared too much. They miss the feeling of being cared for by someone who doesn't give that freely to anyone else. And when she realizes that your smile, your approval, your attention now come with weight, she'll chase that validation harder than she ever chased your love. So here's your move. Make every glance, every reply, every pause between texts intentional. Emotional scarcity isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And it teaches her a simple truth. You're not withholding love. You've just stopped offering it for free. Number 9. Resilience that shames her doubt. Here's a brutal reality no one wants to admit. She expects you to fall apart without her. Maybe not publicly, maybe not dramatically, but somewhere in her subconscious, she assumes losing her will shake your foundation. And the more emotionally attached you were, the more she believes her exit left damage. Now picture this. You don't spiral. You don't rage post. You don't overcompensate with fake smiles and party pictures. You don't vanish into depression or explode into revenge. You rise. Quietly. Relentlessly. That's what shatters her narrative. Because the part of her that needed confirmation, that she mattered more than your backbone, is suddenly left in silence. And that silence is full of doubt. About her worth. About her influence. About how real your connection ever was if you could bounce back like that. This is what true resilience does. It doesn't scream, "Look at me now." It whispers, "I was never dependent on you." You handle your business. You evolve. You become more focused, more grounded, more centered. And you do it without needing her to notice. Because this isn't about revenge. It's about recalibration. Every moment you stay calm while life tests you, she watches from a distance, even if she's pretending not to, and she feels it. She feels the regret not just of losing you, but of underestimating you. That's a scar she gave herself. Let your strength speak, not in arguments, not in explanations, just in actions. Because women don't truly miss the man who breaks down after them. They miss the man who refuses to. Your resilience becomes a mirror. And in it, she doesn't just see you. She sees the version of herself who let go of someone irreplaceable. And that's a wound no apology can fix. Number 10. Disappear without drama. You want the move that haunts her the most? It's not the angry text. It's not the emotional voicemail. It's not even the poetic goodbye laced with, "You'll regret this one day." It's this. You vanish and leave no fingerprints behind. No closure, no fanfare, no scene. Because the most unforgettable exits are the ones that feel like a ghost. not a grenade. Most men mess this up. They think they need to end it properly, to explain their pain, to make her understand. But all that does is give her more control over the narrative, and control is exactly what she's used to having. But when you disappear with dignity, no accusations, no emotional residue, you shift the power dynamic completely. Suddenly she's left with silence, and silence doesn't come with answers. She starts playing back every memory, looking for clues, wondering when the switch flipped, why you didn't say more, why you didn't fight, because deep down, she was ready for drama, not for disappearance. You see, drama feeds ego, but vanishing, that feeds doubt. She starts asking questions you never answer, and every unanswered question becomes a loop in her head she can't stop replaying. You didn't block her. You didn't post cryptic quotes. You didn't burn the bridge. You just walked off it, quietly. And the scariest part? You left the door open, but you're no longer inside. That ambiguity, that unfinished edge, that's what lingers, because she doesn't know if you're done forever, or if you simply evolved into a version of yourself that no longer finds her relevant. That's not just loss, that's existential confusion. So if you want her to miss you, not just today, but deep into the nights she can't sleep, don't explain, don't explode, just disappear, like a storm that passed through, changed the landscape, and never came back. Let's be real, no woman ever laid awake at night thinking about the man who begged her to stay. She thinks about the one who disappeared and never came back the same. Because missing someone isn't about how good they were to her. It's about the vacuum they leave when they're gone. And you're no longer the nice guy she took for granted. You're the lesson, the silence, the unfinished sentence in her story. You didn't just fade. You evolved, quietly, intentionally, powerfully. Now she's stuck wondering what version of you is out there and whether she'll ever get close enough to touch it again. So here's the truth. You don't make someone miss you by proving your worth. You make them miss you by making your absence more powerful than your presence ever was. And if you do this right, she won't come back to reconnect. She'll come back trying to recover a piece of herself she lost when she lost you. The question is, will you still want her then? Or will you be too far gone? Not out of spite, but out of growth. Either way, she'll remember you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were the one she never got to finish. And that kind of memory, it never sleeps. If this video hit you where it needed to, don't let it fade like everything else she forgot. Subscribe. Drop a comment with just one word, gone. Let it be your quiet commitment to never again be the man who had to explain his worth. You're not here to be remembered, you're here to be missed.